Meteorologist Herb Stevens, a skiing weatherman for SnoCountry.com, and I've got the pattern overview for you for the western part of the United States for skiers and riders, and it's brought to you today by the folks at UVEX Sports. UVEX-sports.com is the URL, and if you have any needs in the way of goggles or helmets, that's the place to check it out. The headlines of this report: we need a pattern change in the West right now because we've been sitting under the big blue H for too long. Snow has been hard to come by. We've been riding on and skiing on the same snow pretty much that we've picked up over 2-3 weeks ago, and it's time for a change. Will that change be coming? Well, I'll be taking a look at that, and I will tell you a hint to the answer, that the warm Pacific waters are calling the shots as far as the weather patterns is concerned, not only in the western United States, but also east of the Mississippi River. The sea surface temperatures that you see, the anomalies here along the western part of the U.S. coastline. Let me get my pen going here. These warm anomalies right here support an upper level ridge, and they were here last winter, and that's part of the reason why snow at times was hard to come by in parts of the Northwest. Now, last year the pool was configured pretty much like that from Northern California northward. This year, with a weak El Nino down here in the tropics, we've also seen an increase in the water temperatures between the warm pool to the north and the waters associated with the El Nino, and that's just given it the air a source of additional moisture, but also warmer temperatures. So we've been fighting the snow levels a good part of the time during the course of this season, especially south of Interstate 80, let's say. It is still quiet across the west, with the exception of the mountains of New Mexico and southeastern Colorado. And if you like to ski in Amarillo, Texas, I guess you're in pretty good shape too. Cross-country skiing will be good there over the next couple of days, but the best we can do elsewhere is a little bit of freezing fog here in the valleys. When you've got warmer air aloft and the cold air and what sparse moisture there is gets trapped in the valleys, you end up with these episodes of freezing fog in the west at this time of year, and that is certainly the case. The surface map shows low pressure down along Interstate 10. It's headed eastbound. To the north of it, there's a shield of snow across New Mexico and the eastern, in the White Mountains of Arizona. That snow will be departing over the next several hours, and it's just grazing southeastern Colorado. I guess the primary beneficiary of all this will be places like Taos, where they could use a good snowstorm because they are only at about 50% in terms of their trail count. Ski Santa Fe, Ski Apache, they're going to do very well in this storm. But elsewhere, there's the big blue H that's ruling in the western part of the country. The jet stream shows the upper level disturbance that is causing the low pressure that's down here in southern New Mexico. This is pivoting southeastward, and it's eventually going to lead to a storm on the eastern seaboard as this ridge rebuilds. And if we take a broader view, you'll see that the ridge extends all the way up into western Canada, as it did last week. And that is going to be the primary feature of the weather in the west over the course of the next couple of weeks at least. Now, on the satellite picture, the visible satellite picture, we can see the clouds associated with the low pressure departing the southern Rockies. We can see the valley fog here in California, but what we don't see are those open cell cumulus clouds I'd like to see out here over the water that show me that a shot of cold air is coming down. There's no sign of that. We do have a good slug of moisture here, and this is going to head up into Washington and Oregon late this week as we see a couple of warm fronts actually bring some snow, but then it'll change to rain in the northwest because the snow levels are going to start out at about 4,500 feet or so and then gradually go up to about 7,000 feet, thanks again to the warmth associated with the ridge aloft. Now, by Sunday night, notice that the ridge still dominates in the west, and we have this system in the southern branch that's actually going to feed moisture into the southwestern part of the United States, and early next week we could actually have some rain in the mountains down here in a setup that's pretty similar to the summer, certainly not to the heart of winter. So this ridge is still hanging tough, and it's not our friend right now. And Monday morning surface map shows the high pressure there over the Wasatch. This inverted trough line you see here is going to help shepherd some of the moisture into the mountains of the southwest from that offshore system that I showed you. 1 week from now, Jet stream pattern looks pretty much the same. The big ridge out west, it's going to be hard to get over the top of the ridge and bring any sort of precipitation down the eastern slopes of the Rockies, but I do think we will see some snow, say from Big Sky down past Jackson Hole and on to Steamboat in the middle of next week, but it's liable to be on the light side. Now, this 7-day forecast of snowfall, what you see here in New Mexico, Texas, and Colorado, that's from the storm going through that part of the country today. This stripe of snow perhaps could happen next Tuesday, Wednesday, and I am highly skeptical that any of this is actually going to come to fruition due to the dominance of the ridge. That ridge is going to rule at least 10 days. These are the Canadian ensembles showing a broad trough over eastern North America coupled with the ridge, thanks again to those warm waters offshore. We do think there's going to be a little bit of relaxation early in February when the ridge starts to break down. That could allow some shortwave trough action to come across the top of the ridge and perhaps make it to the Sierra, but it will be at least early February before we see any discernible, sizable change in the pattern as it exists right now. In summary, the ridge is going to dominate. There will be an early storm in the next 24 hours in the southern Rockies. Wolf Creek Pass will get a little snow, but it's the New Mexico resorts that'll make out best. A warm storm, a weak one, will hit the northwest this weekend with high snow levels. Limited shots at snow will exist next week along and east of the spine of the Rockies, and as I said, there'll be no major pattern change until early February at the earliest. Again, the Skiing Weatherman's been brought to you by UVExSports.com. Enjoy your sliding, and it's getting to the time of year. If you're headed out to those bluebird skies, don't forget the sunscreen. Take care.